Teams try a variety of different coverages to try and stop Luka Dončić. In reality, not many of them work. We're going to discuss why several of the ball screen coverages that defenses go to specifically do not work. So we're going to focus on, in particular, what we call dropping or hedging, because that leads to a lot more assists. The reason we're not going to talk about switching in particular, which is what we see right here, is because switching is pretty self-explanatory, where you simply have the post player versus Luka, and Luka's just going to try and attack him one-on-one. So we're not going to focus on that because there's not that many moving parts. Luka's just trying to take advantage of a post player. So how does Luka attack hedging defenses and dropping defenses? Let's go. All right, so the first thing we're looking at, this actually isn't even a ball screen, but we're looking at Luka down here. And so with Luka right here, we're going to see the post player come down here and set a screen, and Luka's going to come off it. We're watching what the defense in particular is doing in this situation. Okay, so we're going to see right here, off ball screen, boom, Luka comes around. The defender right here is going over the top. This means that the defense is in a very difficult situation because this player is now responsible for if Luka catches the ball and immediately goes downhill. The reason this is difficult because now essentially this player has to stay with the post player and stay with Luka momentarily until this player recovers back in front. This means Luka has an opportunity to take advantage of it momentarily, and he does this extremely efficiently. Boom, you see defender steps up. This means that he can't guard two players at once. So he's staying with Luka right here, which means Jackson Hayes is wide open. And if there's no rotation from a different defender, Luka is going to punish that every single time. And that's where he gets a huge amount of his assists, just simple reads like that he punishes. All right, boom, same thing. We're seeing ball screen is going to come up. We're going to watch this defender. What is he going to do the moment the ball screen happens? One thing I should point out is the reason defenders feel the need to go over instead of under is because if they go under, Luka's simply going to shoot this ball right here, and he shoots it with pretty good efficiency, so defenses don't really do that. Okay, so the other defender is now, well, Luka's coming downhill, so I have to stay right here to stop him. That is his mentality. Hey, so Luka's going to be like, yep, I'm the threat. In the meantime, this player, the post player, is now rolling to the rim, and Luka, one, he knows that Chris Paul is the one over here. Chris Paul's not going to be able to jump with post players, yeah. But two, he knows that if he can maintain this dude's attraction on him, that there's going to be no one in the way between Jackson Hayes and the rim. And so Luka does a good job keeping the defender engaged and put the ball up where Chris Paul's not going to have a chance to go get it. And the second example we're going to talk about is I'm going to call this the medium drop. It's still the same concept, but instead of the post player being up here and trying to engage Luka the moment he comes off the screen, he's going to be further back and try and like dare Luka into a difficult shot. Essentially, that's the goal. But this puts similar strain on the defense. The exact same concept is provided because instead of Luka simply waiting out here with the post player and staying with him, he's saying, okay, well, you're going to back up a little bit. I'm going to attack you, so that way you have to go with me. And he's going to engage him regardless. And the same effect is shown. Instead of the post player being out here and Luka making the pass, he just goes in further and says, look at me, and then throws it over the top to, again, a Jackson Hayes that has an uncontested finish at the rim. And the reason defenses do this is because they don't actually want to have the post player on Luka, so they try and sag off a little bit, but they realize that like Luka's such a threat out here that you need to have somewhere in there. But again, same thing, Jalen Brunson, Chris Paul are not going to be able to jump with a post player. They're just not going to. So Luka simply does a good job engaging Cat if he backs up a little bit and throws the ball over the top. Without looking at the statistics, I have to imagine this medium style drop is probably the most common one that Luka sees. But again, it's still not a great efficiency. You can see Miles Turner really, like, he doesn't want to leave Jackson Hayes. He knows that's the threat, and so he wants to stay with Jackson Hayes. But because Luka does a great job of immediately attacking off the screen, not giving the defense any chance to get back in front, he forces Miles Turner to say, well, you got to pay attention to me now. And the moment that you step out to stay with Luka, to contest, whatever, he's going to have somebody open somewhere else. And the second to last example we're going to talk about is we're going to call this the deepest of drops. And it's the same concept, but Miles Turner is going to like aggressively back up. Instead of staying here or even here, he's going to essentially try and meet Luka here is the goal. And the goal is to essentially make it so you can stay as close to Jackson Hayes while also making sure Luka doesn't get a layup in the rim and theoretically give whoever the defender is as much time to recover as possible. Okay, so he's backing up. And again, Luka's just like, at some point you have to respect either my shot or you're going to go give me a layup or you're going to have to step too far away from Jackson Hayes and he's going to throw the ball up. And we see the same thing here with the Pelicans. Again, we're going to see relatively deep drop, post player not even trying to really prevent this three-point shot. getting deep immediately to say, okay, well, I'm going to stop Jackson Hayes, but then I'm also going to prevent you from getting a layup. But in reality, again, what do we see? Over here, again, it's a common theme. The weak side defender, the Lakers put their shooter over here, whoever's got somebody that doesn't have good rim protection on this backside. Like, that is absolutely intentional so that Luka can make these easy lobs with no one to contest it as soon as the post player steps up. And finally, I wanted to include what I thought was really good defense actually here from the Bulls. And Luka still punishes it, don't get me wrong, because Luka's a great player in his own right. But I thought Vucevic does what I think is what I would probably do if I was guarding Luka. And the same thing, you have the deep drop aggressively, and you have this player getting over the top. And so Luka's coming down, and you can see Vucevic is conceding ground. It says, Luka, you want to shoot the mid-range shot, shoot the mid-range shot. We'll give that up because we have to give something up. And so Vucevic is getting as deep as humanly possible, really doing a good job of staying balanced between the two of them where Luka doesn't feel like he has a layup, but then Vucevic is also in decent position where he's not too far away from Jackson Hayes. But this is just a thing. Luka puts the ball in a perfect spot, and it's so difficult because Jackson Hayes is sprinting downhill, and these guys are so athletic. They can leave from pretty far out and still go get this ball up here. But you can see Vucevic is making contact with him borderline pretty far away from the basket, 2 feet, 3 feet away from the basket. And so it's just an impressive amount of what it is really good for Jackson Hayes and a good pass by Luka. Because I think Vucevic plays good defense in that situation. That's probably the defense that I would honestly go to. But in reality, just stopping Luka is going to be extremely difficult because he reads the ball so well. Whatever the defense goes over the top, whether they hedge, how deep they hedge, Luka is just going to tear them apart if you don't have rotations on the backside, which teams just don't because the Lakers intentionally put it so somebody small is in that corner so there's no real rotation because they can't jump with them. And Luka punishes every single time. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe, and most importantly, have a blessed rest of your day.